But a lot of people make the argument that if not for this president, who could have done it? This week he again made the statement that he accepted the responsibility to run the government because no one else came forward. He says Sri Lanka has not fully recovered from the crisis, but is moving forward. Those were his words this week. Now, how do you feel about that particular narrative? Didn't you come forward?
Yeah, I would reject that narrative. That narrative has been promoted right from the beginning. And that narrative, the reason I'm rejecting is this. There was a call from the then President Gotabaya Rajapaksa that he wanted us to come and see him to discuss, how the changes should be made, you see. When that phone call came, it was decided that the General Secretary of our party, the national organizer, that's Ranjit Madhum Bandara, Tissa Attanayak, I can name them, Kabir Hashim, Harsha De Silva, and Eran Wickramaratne went to see him. I was the one who actually, in a sense, led the discussion. And I told him that if we don't move quickly and resolve this issue is going to spill onto the streets. I told him that, right? And I said the social cost to the country will be very, very high. I told him that we have brought a 21st Amendment to the Constitution, and that was to abolish the executive presidency. I said, instead of us bringing it, why don't you bring it? You're the president of the country. If you bring it now, right, then people will actually see it as important because your parliament will see it. You have the opposition, we are in opposition. There can be a 2/3 majority given. I explained in detail to him. And at one point, he stopped me and he said, he said it in Sinhala, we were talking in Sinhala, and he said to me, are you expecting me to go in 2 weeks? I turned to him and said, no. I said, that's something that can be discussed. He said the Bar Association had sent a proposal at that time and they were giving me 1.5 years, right, in that proposal. I said, this is something we can discuss. I didn't go to put a time limit, but at the back of my mind, obviously, I had a plan. Because if you abolish the executive presidency and power is taken out, power moves back to parliament and to a team rather than to one individual, we are changing the whole way the country is going to be governed, then, he could be, phased out. And then our General Secretary said this discussion needs to go forward, and he said Iran is the one we are nominating for this discussion to go forward. And then he had 2 people there in the room, 2 MPs, and he said, okay, they will take the discussion forward. The next day I called, and then I heard that, they were having plans to swear in Ranil Wickramaratne. I don't buy into this narrative that has been made in the country, that we refused it. That is why Ranil Wickramaratne was brought in. I think we are not that naive. The plan was all along to bring Ranil Wickramaratne. Calling us into that room for the discussion was just a part of their whole game plan. You see, so that they could say that they actually invited the main opposition party, into doing this, and therefore that Sajith Premadas ran away, the opposition ran away. Certainly, if he came, we were going to have conditions. There's no question about it. You see, because the people on the streets, people who were protesting, wanted a change and a real change. You see, and we were not going to be playing with that. Right? We would have had an interim government, and we would have probably gone for elections in a shorter period, so that the people could decide who should actually be leading them. Because it was a social upheaval. People actually wanted to change. So this narrative, I completely reject that narrative. I see that every day, trying to say that everybody ran away, therefore Ranil Wickramaratne had to take it. I think they had pre-planned it, and the good reasons. If you think about politics, right, Wickramaratne has been in politics for 50 years. Right, Rajapaksas as a family have been in politics for more than 50 years, right, and all these politicians at the top who have been there for long periods of time know each other quite well, right, they know each other well, and therefore there's always more to these stories than meets the eye. and then a narrative is made, the narrative is sold, and people are made to believe it. So I would completely reject that narrative.